In this video, we are going to talk about the idea of what algebra, right? So basically, we are going to talk about the basics, right? So the basic thing you have to understand for you to tackle almost all the questions relating to algebra will be in this video. So make sure that you stay to the end of the video. Now, let's say you get to a shop, right? So this can be a supermarket, right? So if you get to a supermarket, then here, when you get to the market, maybe let's say you want to buy some items, right? So what are normally the item that are normally used is what, a phone. So let's say you want to buy a phone, right? Okay, you want to buy a phone at a shop, and then at the end, after buying the phone, you may need some what iPod, right? So iPod. Okay, if you are told that the price of the phone is, let's say, in dollars, so that can be assume just our assumption. This is just a $250, and then plus the iPod, that should be what, maybe let's say 150, $150. So everything together will be, that should give us a $400, right? So that should be a 400 dollars in addition, right? So what we are doing here is what we call what, a simple algebra. Is that okay? So this is what we call what, a simple algebra. You agree with me that everything in this world has a name, right? So you watching me right now, you have your own name, so you can easily be identified by this your name. This is a red whiteboard marker, right? So this is how we call it. That is the name of this object, right? So this is what, a whiteboard. So everything in this world has a name. Now the same thing applies to mathematics. When you say algebra, you have to know exactly what it means. So the manipulations of all these things, what we are calling what, algebra. Now if you have that, someone also get to the supermarket, then that person needed to buy a different item apart from the phone and what, iPod, right? So if that is the case, so anyone that gets to the supermarket may buy what, a different what product, right? So mathematically, we are going to use X to represent what, anything that you wish to buy, right? Plus what, a different what, different item. So here, a different item, you are going to use a different variable, right? So what I mean by the variable, these are the letters. So you're going to use a different variable. So they're calling out what, a y, meaning that these and these are not the same, right? So everything here is equal to what, a certain amount of money. So assuming that is $400, right? Okay, what we are doing here, that is what we call what, algebra. Right, so what will happen if you're told that the price of the iPod is this as it is, that's also 150, $150 here, right? And then so here we are going to have our x plus what, $150, that is equal to 400 $400. Is that okay? So then find the values of this x. Now you can see that we are not finding the value of x as it is, but rather we are finding the price of the phone, right? So we don't know, nobody knows. But at the end, they say that you bought a phone, and then you know the price of the iPod, which is for $150, and then they say the total of your $400. Now find the value of this thing. So the way of solving this thing is what we call what, algebra, right? So this is a straightforward, obvious. You can see that this is a 250 dollars. Okay, so if it has 250, like, how did you get a $250? So here you are going to subtract 150 from this side and subtract 150 from this. So the step of getting your answer to certain item that is missing is what we call, you are doing what, algebraic, right? So that's what we call, we are doing algebra. So here we are left to s. So this minus that should be zero, right? So everything is equal to it. So $400 minus $150, that should be 250 dollars. So this is exactly how you call or how you solve the idea of algebra in what. So what will happen if you have a more complicated one, right? So more complicated questions like you want to determine the values of 6x minus 5x, and then minus 6, right? So this is what we call what, algebraic expression. The expression, because it has no equal sign, right? If it is equal sign, that one becomes what, an equation. So this is what, algebraic expression. Of course, the scenario or the idea remains the same. So what is missing here is the variable. You can see that you have the same variable. So as at this point, you are going to have just the price of an item, right? So how do you determine loss? So there's a way of solving this thing. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you have any issues. Now let's see the approach, the method of solving this expression. Now the name of this expression is what we call what a quadratic, right? So that is just a name. So you just need to know the meaning behind this name. So this is what we call a quadratic expression. So when it's equal to something, that one becomes an equation. So quadratic equation. But here that is the name. The reason being quadratic is that look at the nature. There's a number here, then the variable raised to the power 2, then minus another number, and then the variable before another constant. So what I mean by the constant here, this is just what a number. Is that okay? Now, how do you solve this? There are so many ways of doing this, and so here we are going to limit ourselves to what a factorization method, and I'll explain this in just a few seconds. Now, for you to solve this thing, the first step is that you have to multiply the one here, the one in front of the x squared, right? So there's a number there. Okay, can you see that? So there's a number here. So the number in front of the x squared multiplied by this number. Is that okay? So this one multiplied by what? This. So that is your first step. So if you multiply the 6, any number that's attached to this one, you are going to multiply this number against the number here. Remember there's a negative here, right? So if you multiply the 2, you are going to have 36. Is that okay? So the answer is 36. Now after this, after multiplication, you are going to negative 36, of course. So there's a negative number. So after this multiplication, you are going to find the factors of this number. What I mean by the factors here, what are so after multiply, then you had negative 36. So 36 here, you are going to find the factors of this number. So what I mean by the factors here is that what are some of the two numbers that if you multiply, you are going to get 36. Is that okay? So 1 multiplied by 36 will give you 36. So 2 multiplied by 8, and that should be 36. And 3 multiplied by 12, that should be 36. And then 4 multiplied by 9, so that should be 36. And then 6 multiplied by 6, that should be 36. Is that okay? So these are the numbers that if you multiply, you are going to have 36. So here look, pay close attention here. So here we are going to add what both positive and what negative to what each number. Is that okay? So both positive and negative to each number. So here you are having positive and negative, and then positive. There's a reason why we are doing this, and then make sure that you stay here to the end of the day. Then you come across all the tricks so you solve this particular. Once you know how to solve this thing, you are free to go. Is that okay? Okay, now after finding what these numbers, you are going to determine which two factors that's when you pick, right? If you pick any of the two factors, which one that's when you pick or you select, you are going to have we multiply the two, right? So the first step is multiply. So you multiply the two, we are going to have this number. Is that okay? Right? So you are going to have negative 36, and the same two factors, if you add them, so the next one is addition. If you add this one, you are going to have this number. Right? And I'll pick it again. With two factors, when you multiply, we are going to have the negative 30 or 36 here. And then that same two factors, if you pick them, we are going to have a negative 6. Of course, that can be what negative and what positive. Is that okay? Now, I will advise you to just pause the video, and if you're able to determine that, come back and continue. Okay, congratulations if you're able to try that. So the answer to that will be the negative 9 and what and 4, right? Positive 4. Is that okay? The reason is that if I multiply the negative 9 and what and 4 here, right? So I'm going to have a negative 36, exactly what I'm having here. And if you combine the two, right? If you add them, so negative 9 plus this one, that should be negative 6. Okay, so those are the two factors that we are going to deal with. Now, with these two factors, all that we are going to do here is that you just add xs to that because there's a x. We are going to use these two factors here, right? The reason why we are adding the variable, depending on the variable that you are dealing with, but here specifically we are dealing with what x. So we are going to add x to this factor and then add x to this one because we are going to use these two factors here to replace the middle one, the middle number, right? So what I mean by the middle number here, is that okay? We are going to remember there's a negative here. Don't let this negative confuse. The negative belongs to this number. So the sign in front of you, that is exactly what belongs to you. right? Just like in this case, negative 6 here, so the negative belongs to the 6. Here the same, so the negative 5, negative here belongs to the 5. So after finding the two factors here, we are going to use these two people to replace the middle one. We are not doing anything to this and the first one. So what are we are going to have here? We are going to have 6x squared, and then we are replacing the middle one by these two people. That should go negative 9x, and then plus 4x, and then minus 6. Is that okay? Minus. So this is just a step, right? From the basic one, from the starting of this video. If you have something that looks like this is how you have to approach it. So the method that we are using is a factorization method. Now, once you're able to split these people into two, what we are going to do here is that you find what you are going to do the factorization. So we are grouping the items into two brackets. So here we are having 6x squared and then minus 9x into one bracket, right? So these two people. Now you are having four people involved. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So 2, 2, right? And then plus you have a 4x and then minus. Sometimes you can have a negative here, so pay close attention to a negative wherever you have a negative in your solution or steps. Now the method that we are using here is factorization. So we are going to factor out what these two people have in common. Is that okay? So what is here? What is here? So in terms of the numbers, we are having what 3, right? So they have 3 in common, and then there's the x here. There's another x here. So let's bring the x out. So here we are going to left with 2, and then one of the x, and then minus up. Here we are going to left with just 3. Is that okay? Now there's a trick here, so make sure that I'll show you that trick here. If you're enjoying the video, just give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and then comment down below if you have any question or anything that you want to see relating to any of our videos. So just make sure that you comment in the comment section, then we proceed. Okay, here, what do they have in common? You can see that they have, in terms of the numbers, there's a 4 here and then there's a 6 here. They can't get 4. You can have a 4 here, but you cannot have 4 here. So if you bring the 4 out, the trick here is that anytime you factor, just check and multiply, right? Just check and multiply if you are going to have the same thing in this bracket. So if I multiply this by this, I'm going to have the 6 of x squared here. And then if I multiply this one by this, I'm going to have the 9 was. That is the trick after the factorization. Okay, here, what are they having in common is that that should be positive 2. Is that okay? So if I bring the positive 2 out here we are going to have we are going to left with 2x, right? Because if I multiply the 2 by the 2x, I'm going to have 4x. What about here? So that should be what? That should be left with negative 3. Because if I multiply the 2 by what? The negative 3, I'm going to have the negative 6. Now look at something. Look at something. What is happening in the 2 bracket? It's very, very important. So what is happening in the 2 brackets here? So this is one bracket, and then this is the second bracket. You can see that anything inside the brackets are the same, right? That is another trick in terms of factorization. So anything that you can find inside of the bracket, they must be the same, right? If they are not the same, meaning that there's something wrong with your factorizations. There, what we are going to do here is that you combine the outside guys. So this is one outside here, so another outside here into one bracket. So meaning that we are having 3x and then plus 2 into one bracket, and then we are going to repeat just one of this bracket. Is that okay? So repeating one of these brackets. That is the reason why these two brackets has to be the same thing. So you have 2s and then minus 3. Now from here, and this is very easy to solve. So we are going to solve the bracket one by one, right? So solving this bracket by one, so meaning that we have 3s plus 2, that should be equal to 0. So if you solve this, we are going to get so after solving these two expression in the bracket, we are going to have one of the s that should be negative 2 over 3, and then here we are having s to be 3 over 2, depending on what the question is asking you to find. If it's just a factorization, then you can end here, right? If it's just a factorization, you can end at this point. But if you ask you to solve the values of the x, then you can proceed from this bracket and then solve it step by step to the final answer. So if you have any question, once again, comment down below, subscribe to the channel for more content like this.